Hello. So I've totally failed at blogging and video blogging during this trip, mostly because so much happens during a day. It's hard to find the time, I guess, to sit down and talk about it or write about it. Being so busy, just even thinking about it and still thinking about it, and things that happened 3 months ago, I'm still thinking about. And nevertheless, I wanted to take some time to talk about the work I was doing in Moshi in Tanzania with the women's empowerment group Tusaidiane. I wrote a little kind of intro to that, just simply saying, in case you haven't read it, that I'd searched for ethical volunteer work, something I was qualified to do, something that not only would benefit women but would also inform some of my decisions. And as I was writing it, I realized that there's no way that I could possibly write accurately about my experiences there, because so much of it is so much more than I can put into, some well articulated text. So I thought I would just kind of talk about it, which is actually really hard to do because I'm always worried someone's gonna like come up from behind me and be listening to me, and then it doesn't feel organic, or just even knowing and looking at my own face while I'm doing this is really awkward. But anyway, so the work I was doing with Tusaidiane was seminars about family planning methods, birth control, in other words, and all of that started out with basically just meeting Amanda, who's one of the co-founders of the group, American woman, and her and I just going around to all the clinics in the Moshi area and finding out what services they had available, and being really pleasantly surprised at the fact that PSI, which is Population Services International, in tandem with the government of Tanzania, created a program called Familia, which makes family planning methods, the pill, the injection, all that shit, accessible to women for free, so long as they can get to a clinic, which can be a huge barrier to women who are in villages, or don't have their own means of income, especially if they're thinking about like discretion, they don't want their partner to know, et cetera, et cetera. Nevertheless, I was really happy to see that there were a lot of services available, a lot of methods of birth control available, and for no cost to the women. So we found out what services were available. We surveyed the women to see what are they using, what are they interested in. If they're not interested in family planning, like, why not? Are they using it? How many children do they have? How old they are? And that just kind of like gave me an idea of how I wanted to structure the different seminars. I did my first seminar on the pill and the injection based on statistics I had acquired from a clinic called Majengo Health Center, that suggested the majority of women are using the injection, using the pill, as well as the women in my group. And it didn't go too great, just because there was a lot of education and information that I was taking for granted, just understandings of conceptions of fertility and just hormones and all kinds of things. So with the advice of Rahab, who is the other woman, the other co-founder, a Kenyan woman who lives in Moshi, well, outside of Moshi in Newlands, where the women's group is, and Amanda, we scaled it back and we decided that let's start over. Let's talk about fertility in general, just how our bodies work as women, et cetera, et cetera. And all this is a bit dry, I guess, for someone who isn't interested in this field or doesn't really feel like they need to know about the ins and outs of the seminar work I was doing. But I guess what I mostly wanted to talk about is just how much I learned from both the women in the group and the two co-founders, Amanda and Rahab. Rahab is, as I said, a Kenyan woman. She lives in Tanzania in Newlands, which is the village we're working in. She's a teacher, and she was my translator. She's a huge commanding force in the meetings, just with the women. A totally kind of like gentle and soft-spoken woman, and then you get her talking about something she's passionate about, and she just commands a space in a way that is nothing less than amazing. And then you have Amanda, who started out just kind of doing volunteer work in Moshi and being in public health and being at what would you call it, like a workshop or a seminar, community health oriented. And her translator was a man, and this is 4 years ago. And a woman asking a question and him refusing to translate it to Amanda because it was a woman's issue. And this kind of sparked for Amanda this concept that, well, these women need a space to learn and a space to have a voice. And over the last 4 years, her and Rahab have been cultivating this environment that is based on emotional, economic, and educational support for these women. And I mean, I'm fortunate coming into a group that's so mature in 4 years. So the women were keen to talk. They were open to discussion. Whereas what I'd learned about other groups that were a little more young in their establishment, they don't have that trust and that community. And, you know, the group, they have so many focuses and more than any, I mean, projects. So one of the projects is a community center that is, the meeting hall is almost erected. It's an amazing building. You just see this giant space in the middle of this village, and it's just, you know, they've been granted land to build a women's and children's clinic, which is so amazing. Just the response from the people, not just women, but the men and women in the village, just about this becoming a thing that's going to happen. I know I'm totally blabbing because there's just so many things in my mind to say, but I guess more than anything, the mentality or the existence of Tusaidiane, the women's group, it's more than just like a physical space that the women have to congregate and to discuss issues that are important to them or that are relevant to them or to learn or to whatever. Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own comes to mind. It's more symbolic, just having a space that's by the women, for the women, that promotes education, that promotes growth, that promotes support and learning. And like it's honestly, it's palpable, and you see it in the community, you see it in the village, you hear the people talking about how this physical space that they've erected, it's so grand, and it shows like the women are powerful. So, I mean, it's truly an amazing thing that Rahab and Amanda and the women all together have done. And just on a personal level, what I've learned and how I've grown from this experience, I mean, I have all these ambitions or community-focused works that I want to do within the existing volunteer work I do at PPT in Toronto. And I'm always like, oh, I'm really interested in this issue. I need to find a group that does this so that I can like participate. And I don't know if the reason I've done that is because I've been afraid of failing or afraid of how much work it's going to be, or I don't want to stretch myself too thin, or I don't know. I'm sure it's a bunch of those things amongst other things. And what this has taught me, meeting someone like Amanda, is that you can do it yourself. I can do it myself, and seeing it work, and also not to negate how hard they both work, whether it's Rahab running around to all the women's houses the day of a seminar and being like, okay, ladies, like, let's go. We have a seminar today. This is what we're talking about. Or if it's going back and forth to Dar es Salaam a million times to register this group. And I mean, going back and forth to Dar is a huge undertaking. Or if it's Amanda realizing, okay, I need some foreign income or currency to like get the things done that I want to get done, or we want to get done, and starting her own nonprofit and going through all of that logistical work. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of work, but you can do it. I could do it. And being a part of something like this has, like I said, taught me so much, not just about that, but just about people and the strength of people and the importance of community in a way that I guess was not real to me or as real before. Um, and just how important it is actually to try to make a difference in one person's life, even, or a few. I mean, you look around here and there's so much good and life and love and beauty, and but there's also a lot of bad stuff too, and you can't fix it. But and I mean the world in general, like I've talked about this with so many people who are doing similar works as me. Just how, if you think about it in the grand scheme of like, well, I can't fix the world, or the world is a bad place, or bad things happen here, it's like forget it, like lie down, I don't want to get up, I won't go anywhere ever again. But when you think about how important your own life is to you and how real that is to you, and if you have the opportunity to try to improve just even one person's life, that's valid. And that's what keeps, Amanda and Rahab going. And I don't know if I improved anybody's life. Like the women said I did. They said that they learned from me, and that they wanted me to come back. And when I left, they sang me a song and lined up and hugged me and, wished me a safe journey, and that they, would pray for me to come back. And again, like I feel guilty for getting so much out of it, but it really was a genuinely life-changing experience, in the sense that, or I guess the point I wanted to make, or the example that I wanted to give in terms of making a difference in individual people's lives, is that so this community center is being built. The meeting hall is going to open up membership so that even more women can join. Right now there's like a formal membership of like 90 people or something like that. It's going to be opening it up to so much more people, hopefully a younger group of women. I really want to come back and start or work on like a group B where it's younger women, where they can access information and education and emotional support in a space that's separate from their mothers and their grandmothers and their aunts and their whatever. But aside from the community center, they've done all of the work to propose a clinic for women and children, meaning women won't have to be giving birth on the Dala Dala on the way to the hospital. And at one of the meetings where it was being discussed about whether the land could be bought or whether this was a good idea for the village, an old woman, say old because she was an old woman, past reproductive age, kind of stood up and said that she wished God would give her the ability to have more children so that she could give birth in her village. Like, that's so meaningful. And just something that I think gets so taken for granted. I know it's something that I've taken for granted, just access to things that we feel in like a Western context entitled to. But again, kind of rambling a little bit, but I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna be more concise and with a better understanding of what I can do and what I can't do, and what's actually helpful and what isn't. And I just feel so fortunate and so blessed that I met these women. And I haven't even talked about the Handicrafts Project, which is a whole other thing that we would do just on Wednesday mornings, just a small group of us. And I think if I do, I might actually cry. But just how kindred you can be with people without even being able to speak the same language is just such a privilege. And I'm just so grateful to Amanda and Rahab for encouraging me and welcoming me and just inspiring me and showing me a direction I don't know if I would have gone or that I could do. So, I think this is pretty long. I think, shit, I've been talking for like 15 minutes. I meant this to be like 3 minutes long. Uh, so I guess I'll cut this short. I also have a ton of more writing to do, just about a million things that have happened since I even left Moshi. I'm in Rwanda now, in a place called Ruhengeri. It's this is just like the bar area, which I came to get some privacy. Anyway, I'm gonna end this now, and I appreciate if you've watched all of this. 15 minutes, a long time. All right, thanks.